Good news, your fantasy has arrived, and the apocalypse is here. The most important question in your life now becomes, what pistol do you want for the end of the world? The first thing is, it needs to be tough. The toughest, actually. Kids, it's the HK Mark 23. To get a better understanding of this specialty gun, I placed a call to my favorite HK guru, James Williamson. Prior to SOCOM being stood up in 1987, what you had was a collection of different high-speed organizations working independently, largely using different pistols. With SOCOM bringing these organizations under one roof, there was a desire to have a standardized handgun. The thing was, a lot of those groups were using highly customized 1911s. And while excellent guns, those guns required a high level of hand fitting. And within those tight tolerances, reliability would decrease in adverse conditions. And if something went wrong on your 1911, you would have to send it back to the 1911 gunsmith in order to get it fixed. So SOCOM puts out the requirement for a new pistol. They wanted something with the accuracy and lethality to be, quote, offensive in nature. It had to be extremely robust and durable in order to get a longer life cycle out of the pistols. It had to be extremely reliable, and it had to incorporate a suppressor and a light laser aiming module. Born from this request was the HK Mark 23. Now, I'm not typically a sucker for marketing lines, but the concept of the world's first offensive pistol, that one gets me. So one of the interesting features of the Mark 23 is how it produces match grade accuracy. And that was one of the requirements, that the gun had to run on production parts, but have match grade accuracy. So imagine a scenario where we need an AK and we need sloppy tolerances because we know it's gonna work, but we need it to shoot like a precision rifle. Pretty unique. The way that the Germans did that is with this rubber O-ring that you will see right here. And it's very, very interesting. Basically how this works, I'm gonna give you the most basic version because it's the only way that I can understand it. As a round is fired and the increase in pressure goes through the barrel, as soon as that increase in pressure hits this O-ring, it causes it to swell. And it swells ever so slightly, but to the exact same point every single time. And what it does is it swells, creating a very, very tight lockup between the slide and the barrel. You would have to liken it to a barrel bushing on a 1911. And that is pretty wild, especially given that we're talking about this happening in the early 90s. So what you have here, all production quality parts, no hand fitting, no gunsmithing needed, but match grade accuracy. So obviously one of the things that the SOCOM requirement had was insane reliability and durability. So the Mark 23 went through an ungodly amount of durability testing. Saltwater and sand immersion for 96 hours. It went through extreme temperature testing down to minus 50 degrees, right? Because some dudes operating this would be operating it in Arctic conditions. That's why you will notice the trigger guard is massive. That's to account for big, heavy gloves that would be in those frigid conditions. It went through chemical baths. It had to fire 30,000 rounds of plus P45 ammunition with no major parts breaking and no weapon-related malfunctions, with only basic maintenance and cleaning along the way. And then at the end of all of these different tests, it had to still maintain match-grade accuracy. Some of the other features. Standard capacity is 12 rounds of 45, including 45 super. That is awesome. We have a silent decocker, and this is one of the coolest features of the pistol. So most decockers, it's a clunk clunk, right? It's very loud. And of course, if you were doing secret ninja operations in unknown places, you don't want to clunk clunk. So this one, I mean, stop, just stop. It's a silent decocker. If your slide goes to slide lock and then you insert a loaded mag with a little bit of oomph, your slide will automatically go forward, because who needs to be troubled with sending their own slide forward? The gun comes exclusively with a threaded barrel, because to shoot this without a suppressor would simply be uncivilized, and that's not what we're here to do inside of our apocalypse video. Probably the coolest feature that I've ever heard about a gun. So the testing of the Mark III went through 3 different phases, and phase 1 actually has a version of the Mark 23 where on the frame there is a little switch. You see, one of the goals for the gun was to be as quiet as humanly possible on the first round, okay? And I will let your imagination roam wild with why you would want your gun to be as quiet as possible on the first round. So if you activated this switch, and this is in the phase 1 gun, it will actually deactivate the movement of the slide so that the slide cannot cycle. So what happens is, with the suppressor on, you send that first round and there is no sound coming from moving metal on top of metal, and there's also no ejection port pop. I want you to think about what I just said there, because it might be the coolest feature that I've ever heard on a gun. Now, no apocalypse pistol is complete without a couple of accessories. Now, some of you may have spotted that there's a very special accessory on this gun, and that is per the SOCOM requirement. There needed to be a light laser aiming module, and we have here a phase 1 LAM, a laser aiming module, which at the time was made by Insight, and this is a very emphasis on very iconic piece of gun firearm history that is on this gun right now. Frankly, makes me a little nervous having it in my possession. But the concept was simple, which is at the bottom of the LAM here, you have a little wheel where you get to pick and select between white light, which, my dear God, I can't believe this thing actually just came on, but I thought this was non-functional. Apparently it does work, everyone. So the white light is currently on the LAM. Sweet baby Jesus, everyone. So it has a white light, also has a visible laser and an IR laser. That way, if you are running night vision, you will be able to see this doing all your nighttime operations, right? So if you do not have access to a LAM, which is going to be the majority of people on planet Earth, you may want to run a light. So let me just show you a couple of your options for this. There is a little aftermarket rail. See, one of the unique things about the Mark 23 is that it was set up to run the LAM. So it does not take a Surefire light or an Enforce light or a Stream light or whatever it is. So what you have to do is you have to get this little pick rail adapter. This is from HK Parts, and straight up it is okay. It's about the best option we've got, but it's not great. And what it does is it actually screws into the trigger guard, which is the same way that the LAM attaches, right? The LAM attaches on this trigger guard and via the rail. So same thing, this goes into the trigger guard, this is on the rail. Now you've got a standard pick rail on your gun. Unfortunately, it's just not laid out super well, and lights do not go flush, unlike the LAM here. What I have found, just a little hack for anyone that gets a Mark 23, it would appear that the Enforce pistol mounted light is actually your best option. Surefires do not seem to work very well. You're definitely going to need a suppressor for your Mark 23. The suppressor that we have here is a Dead Air Primal. Now, this is a 458 can, so this is a big bore precision rifle can. And I got it on a Mark 23 because I just think it's awesome, and I'm sure some of the precision guys will be insulted. But again, match grade accuracy, right? Keep that in mind. It is the only suppressor I've found that once on this gun, proportionally, it actually feels right, and it actually sounds quite nice. So you can actually set up a Dead Air Primal, different Dead Air products in order to go in a Mark 23. They even have the piston that is completely unique to the Mark 23. One other thing you might decide that you want, holster. I've actually got a holster, and drawing this from a holster, while it would look insane, not with the suppressor on, with just the bare gun, it's actually pretty intuitive. Gear, holster, all that kind of stuff came from RDR gear. The little pouch here came from Hill People gear. And really, my initial thought in buying the Mark 23 was to be as a backcountry gun, right? Bears, mountain lions, things like that. So the notion with this is I get to wear this little chest rig around, right? Pretty cool, pretty low profile. And you can actually keep the pistol, not with the suppressor on, you can keep the pistol right here. You can keep a couple mags, suppressors. You can have a little trauma kit, all that kind of stuff in this little chest rig. It is quite a neat setup. Sadly, the Mark 23 never reached the widespread use it was designed for, in large part due to its overall size. It is indeed not small. In fact, it's enormous. Combined with the fact that the requirement for the pistol came out in 1991, and after a full 5 years in development, the gun was released in 1996. While it may not be widely used, it is used. It serves in niche military capacities where rifles are too obtrusive to carry, and certain atmospheric elements such as salt water demand something as robust as the Mark 23. So what is the Mark 23? It's an iconic piece of history designed to serve the most elite soldiers in the world. It's the most over-engineered and tortured pistol in human history. It's the world's first offensive handgun, and I love it.